Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dinner time is here. That's right, we're talking about episode 9 of season 2 of Hannibal on Dish by Dish. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from the Baltimore Institute for the Criminally Insane. This is the Dish by Dish, a Hannibal Rewatch Project podcast, our spin-off from Kill by Kill, where we watch an episode of Hannibal and then we talk about it. And of course, there's only one person I trust, that if I have a mouse in my pocket and I say, don't look at it because they'll take it away from me, she will respect its privacy. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
You know, I would look out for Kevin for you. I would make sure they would not take Kevin away. It's something, this relationship between Peter, who comes back for one more episode, and his mouse friend Kevin is way more meaningful than Donnie Wahlberg's relationship with a rat in Saw 4.
Something that I bring up whenever somebody mentions Saw 4 on Twitter, and they're like, what are you talking about? It's in the movie, everyone. He has a rat friend. Okay.
Well, the problem is that I think that we established this on the episode that you and our guest, but that I and our guest watched a slightly different version than you did. You got way more nudity of Tobin Bell in that autopsy scene than we did.
Yeah,
and you got an extended shot of Donnie Wahlberg and his rat friend, where I think we got like a really quick cut of it.
I mean, it's really quick in the cut that I got too, but I just happened to
burned into your brain, turned into your brain mates forever.
Right. Once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it, and I certainly couldn't untalk about it. So that's the Kill by Kill promise. Once I see something that fucking crazy, I'm going to talk about it. Speaking of which, we are talking about episode 9 of Hannibal. She is Zakana. There's 2 eyes there, and so each should be pronounced as its own section. That's the one thing of Japanese, that the language that seems to have burrowed itself into my own brain. And we open on Hannibal strapped to a tree by ropes that are apparently connected to a horse, and Will has put him there. And if the horse continues to move, it's gonna squish Hannibal real good. And the first thing that occurred to me is a quote from Dan McCoy of the Flophouse, which is, have our sex games grown too elaborate?
Yeah, as with a lot of things between Will and Hannibal, it's weirdly sexual.
Yeah. I mean, if you told me Will wants to squeeze Hannibal until he explodes, I'd go, yeah, that seems
there's a little metaphorical edging going on here.
Just a tad. It turns out, however, that this is all a dream, and an unwelcome one, at least according to Will. This is yet another example of wet sleeping that Will does.
Yeah, I was going to say it's another sweaty dream.
Yeah, just very good at moist dreaming. We've seen this throughout. I hope it continues into season 3. It's the most consistent aspect of the show. We then cut to Jack eating a meal with Hannibal, and there's liver involved in this. And again, I have to ask, Jack knows that Hannibal eats people. Like, he has a strong suspicion. He pretty much knows. He can't prove it yet, but he knows. So if you knew someone was serving you human meat in your lovely egg dish, would you be able to wolf that down?
I mean, I feel like, you remember being a little kid, or maybe your kid had went through this phase where you put the food in your mouth and then you kind of put that napkin up and you spit the food back into the napkin and push it under your plate.
Sure.
Or you feed it to the invisible dog under the table.
Mm-hmm.
Although, then, of course, you give the dog a taste for human flesh, and that's probably not a good idea.
Yes. Nigel didn't. I think he looked at Oliver with He's like, is he still here for the first 6 months of his life? Like, this was fine, but he yells a lot. You know, I don't dislike him, but are we sure we want to add this to the group? And then once Oliver started eating like solid food and would drop a lot of it, he was like, oh, I get this now. This kid's, I'm fine with this. This setup works for me.
Now he's my best friend.
Now he's my bestest friend. The other element of feeding Oliver was there was a lot of mimicry on my part. Like I would, you know, feed him, you know, squash or peas or whatever it was out of that particular jar, whether we made it or we purchased it. And I would always mimic eating, because he was so fucking terrible at it. And apparently for years afterwards, when I was trying to encourage him to eat whatever we put down in front of him, I would also do it.
That's adorable.
Like I'd done it for so long, it was now a habit. And every once in a while, I find myself doing it again. It is ingrained.
I still hand my adult daughter a plate of food or give her a bite of something and it's hot, I will still tell her to foo on it. Because, you know, telling, you know, a little kid to blow on their food if it's too hot, you go, yeah. It's like, go ahead, foo on it. She is 23 years old. I mean, it's a miracle I'm not still cutting her food for her.
I know. Like, when do you stop? When do you let go? What do you hold on to?
It's like if you stop, it feels like if you stop, you're just going to like shrivel to dust.
Yes. And it's also like keeping it alive because, you know, like every day they're older, they're never going to get younger. They're just never going to get younger.
Right. They take a trip to that beach that makes you old. And, you know, while your body's falling apart, they're just getting, you know, taller and, you know, you don't recognize them anymore.
I was so sad when this became all the rage on Twitter, and I didn't see any of it because I was completely offline for the most part. And I was seeing the grandeur of nature. But once I saw it, like the thing I was ready to go with was, what if life was the beach that made you old all along?
Oh,
So maybe it was a good thing I didn't tweet it because that was ready to go like 3 days after it had all gone.
You had that in the drafts folder.
Yeah, that one was lurking, and I was just like, no, the time has passed. But I will say, then we will return to Hannibal. The past, you know, year plus that we have been in and out of various lockdowns and whatnot. While it has never been very particularly difficult, but it has also not been easy. But it did afford us like this entire time to really enjoy being a family, just not having, like, we were together, right? He got to sort of remain the same kid. There was a little state of arrested development because he wasn't having a life unto himself.
Well, also, you know, everything was terrifying and horrible. I mean, I experienced a little arrested development during all this.
Yeah. And so while I do not wish what has happened on anyone, and I certainly don't think it was a great thing by any stretch of the imagination, if there was any fringe benefit from it, it was that opportunity to still have, you know, a kid around.
Right. Well, my daughter still lives with me, and it was just nice to have all that extra time with her, and because she's an immeasurably cool person, and she always has been. So I never went through a you know phase where, you know, the slamming doors phase or the, you know, muttering you know bitch under her breath when she goes up the stairs or whatever. I've just been very fortunate in that regard. So, you know, yeah, as you say, that part of lockdown wasn't too hard. You know, I never turned into one of these people. It's like, I hate my family.
No. And oh man, boy, if I talk out of that, boy, I just find myself in trouble. So why don't we get back into Hannibal? We cut to
werewolves.
Ninja wolves?
I swear to God, the first time I saw this episode, I said out loud, "What are we, fucking werewolves now?"
I mean, I love rest stop ninjas. I just do. And yeah, the entire idea that you're attacked by a wolf or a bear on top of a truck, and everyone's like, gotta be a bear or a wolf, like on top of a truck. How the fuck does that happen?
It just like snatches a dude off the ground,
just hauls them up. And no one says werewolf, though. Someone should have said werewolf.
Yeah, I mean, how does that not just be the first thing you think of?
Yeah. Have you done any long haul trucking?
I have not. But you know what? I mean, if I found someone on top of a truck with all of his organs torn out of his body, yeah, I'd be like, there's a werewolf.
Oh my God.
And that guy's going to come back on the next full moon. But you know what? They did very carefully show that it was not a full moon. Yeah. Which, like, no, this isn't a werewolf. How silly.
Come on.
Oh, right, because everything else has been so logical up to this point.
I mean, if this show did introduce a werewolf, I wouldn't be mad at it, to be honest with you.
I mean, Hannibal is practically a vampire.
Yeah.
So, why not just throw in a werewolf at the same time, have them fight each other?
Yeah.
Get some universal horror shit going
on. My dad, one of his many, many, many businesses, because he constantly went into failing businesses, was owning a recycling center, essentially. Before it became something the state of California did. He was a recycler, and that meant he had access to trucks and trailers. And so while I didn't do long haul trucking, I did do short haul trucking long enough for me never wanting to ever be a trucker.
Oh, no, it sounds horrible.
No, like when my kids, like, I love trucks. I'm like, get in one for, like drive halfway across LA.
Live in one for a few weeks. Go to a rest stop. See how you like it.
See how you enjoy taking a shower when your number comes up. Like, oh my God.
If you want the full prison experience, not actually being in prison.
That being said, there are people who enjoy it as a career choice, and we do need them. And we one of our Patreons is a trucker, of course, across the sea, but still, I'm sure we have truckers in our audience, and we salute you. We also do not want to replace you. I'm just going to come right out and say,
I am not cut out for that line of work.
I'm really not. I would be a 600-pound man getting behind the wheel, because I would drink nothing but soda. Tell you right now.
Soda and subsist on a diet of soda and bugles.
Pretty much, yeah. What do you got in the chip aisle this week, I'd say, as I waddled across the parking lot. But I couldn't, no, it is not for me. It's bad enough that I sit as much as I do as a writer. No, it just brings out the worst habits in me. I have not consumed soda that is not accompanied by rum or bourbon in a while, and I really don't want to. Drink water, everyone. Don't be like my father-in-law, who went through like 4-mile hikes without drinking a sip of water. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
Good Lord. Does he have like a vestigial pouch somewhere?
No, I don't know. I mean, he would have like a sip, but it's a generational thing. Like, my parents don't drink water at all. Like, if you tell them to drink water, they'll like look at you weird, as my mother downs a Diet Coke. Like, it just.
I went hiking in Arizona a couple of years ago, and we brought like a 6-pack of bottled water, and we were all the way through the entire thing before we were like even halfway through the hiking trail.
No, man. There are 2 things that taste good on a hot day: water and beer. That's it. Everything else can go fuck itself.
Everything else just tastes tepid no matter what.
It just doesn't work for me, man.
It's like that weird thing where like Hawaiian Punch never gets cold.
Oh my God. At Glendale Community College, I had a habit of drinking Hawaiian Punch to the point where my girlfriend's family started stalking it because I'm like, this is not good. Like it cured.
That's like what they associate you with.
Yes.
He likes Hawaiian Punch.
Imagine someone thinking you and then going, better make sure I have Hawaiian Punch on stock. Otherwise.
But did you kind of take this on as like some sort of like quirky character trait, or did you just genuinely like Hawaiian Punch?
I was a real asshole, and yeah, probably. Like, I know I'm being unfair to myself, but honestly, I was a fucking asshole.
So it was like an odd character trait. Like
everything was an odd character trait.
Some people wear like a top hat or carry a decorative cane. You drank Hawaiian Punch.
If so, yes, it was my steampunk. I just wore it. I don't know which episode I said it on, but yeah, when I was practicing to be in Taming of the Shrew and I had to learn how to do the bullwhip, I would go out on the football field with Uggs on and fucking do the bullwhip. In the middle of the football field, like, what a grade A dork. Wow. How I had any sex is fucking beyond me. I just should have been on blast.
Hawaiian Punch just leaking from your pores.
Staining every shirt I own. Undoubtedly. Teeth pink. Oh, God.
It just has this like strange fruity smell. Like I can't place what it is.
I either want to drink him or punch him, and I'm not entirely sure which, but it's constant.
I never learned how to use a door properly. That's Kool-Aid, isn't it? God damn it, I ruined my own joke.
It was only a year later, Gina.
Yeah.
That for an entire month, because I was so poor, I decided, well, what's one thing that I can eat and drink that if I buy it, it's very cheap and I can get through this month? And I decided it was chili dogs and Ecto Cooler.
Oh, God.
I ate chili dogs for lunch and dinner for a full month. And I don't think I've had a chili dog since. There was
a very long period in my 20s where I lived on. Are you familiar with Wawa?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the concept. I never got that far south in Jersey that I saw a lot of that, but there was another one there was a northern Jersey Wawa offshoot that tried to basically replicate it. They had the sandwiches. So yeah, I've had
I've lived for a very long time on Wawa hoagies. So we probably both have terrible stomachs now because of it.
It can't be good. Believe me. When I get my exam, they're going to find some things we're all going to regret.
And now we're here talking about the elegance of Hannibal. Hannibal Lecter, who has probably never eaten a chili dog.
No.
And if he did, it was made out of people. Chili made out of people. That's probably bomb, man.
Yeah, you know what? I would probably eat it, if it's spiced correctly, because that's what it comes down to with chili. Is do you have those layers of flavors? And if that includes Jerry, sure, why not? So I love when they find the trucker. By the way, we're still talking about Hannibal, everyone. When they find the trucker, it's nothing but bloodsickles coming off of the top of the truck.
Yeah.
They used to tell us where things were. I think they stopped at a certain point.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of looks, it's like, particularly in the when the couple is killed later in the episode, it feels, I mean, it's not Fargo. Well, in Fargo, it's not Fargo either. It's like outside of Minneapolis, but it feels very much like evocative of the scene in Fargo where we meet Marge Gunderson and she discovers the body laying on the side of the road and all. It's set up to be very similar to that. I don't know if that's intentional, but now it's very cold and snowy and desolate.
Sure. Oh yeah, for sure. Yes. And because everyone believes that an animal is involved, it's time to check in with our favorite new character, Peter Baradone. And Peter has now been hospitalized after stuffing a dead woman and an alive man into separate horses,
which apparently is against the law.
I think they, once you go there, people want to make sure everything's okay. I don't think he deserves to be in the Baltimore Institute for the Criminally Insane.
Nobody does really. That place needs to be shut down.
I mean, what kind of...
I mean, considering now that we know that Dr. Chilton didn't actually do what he was accused of.
Right.
But, it's still in the show, it's still believed that he did. He was in charge of that hospital. Yeah. So, maybe to quote someone I don't particularly enjoy talking about anymore, they need to close it down and, until we figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah. I agree. It needs further examination.
We've also had guards beating someone until their back is broken. We've had a murdered nurse. We've had a serial killer attendant. Maybe they need to kind of close this down and redistribute the patients.
Dr. Gideon was stolen, just straight up stolen out of the motherfucker. So yeah,
and then eaten and killed.
Yeah, well. He had that one coming.
Well, of course he did, but
speaking of eating and coming, this particular episode features a guy in a bear suit.
Yeah. Like a kind of almost mecha bear suit.
Yeah, it's a robo bear suit, as it were. He's using a modified cave bear skull. Now it's weird that cave bear weren't actually carnivores. They used those large tusks to root around and dig out things rather than, and I'm sure defensively they used them as well. Oliver had a big saber-toothed cat phase where we were at the tar pits like every month. So I apologize for the useless cave bear trivia, but again, this was the gift he gave me.
You could also read the book Clan of the Cave Bear.
That's very true. You'll get all sorts of that and a lot of forced sex for breeding. Oh God. What is this podcast made of us? Anyways,
Hawaiian Punch and forced sex breeding.
Wow.
You get it all on Dish by Dish.
That's why it's 5 stars or nothing, baby. This is an entirely philosophical episode of Hannibal for the most part. And it comes down to, we get some blood and guts with the robo cave bear. Most of the runtime is spent on the debate between various characters on what it means to kill. We hear from Peter that, animals do not kill for sport. Only mankind does. We hear a lot from Margot about her desire to kill, or is it okay that the idea that it's okay is being planted in my head by my therapist? And she discusses this with Will, which, as we noted in the last episode, those two characters never intersect in the book universe, and they do very much so here.
Right. They basically, does Dr. Ledger seem kind of weird to you? I don't know what you're talking about.
The last time I pointed a finger at him, I ended up in the Baltimore Institute for the Criminally Insane, so I'm a little gun shy about it. Thank you very much.
Should my therapist be encouraging me to commit murder?
Well, that's a lot of what Hannibal seems to do. And in a way, that is yet another reflection of his attitude in the books. Certainly with Red Dragon, he has a long communication with the killer in that particular book, which ends up sending that killer off towards Will, specifically, and his family. And we have a crazy Manhunter reference in this particular episode as the kid in the Robo-Bear costume bursts through a wall of glass brick. Now, have you ever noticed the glass brick wall in Will's home before this?
I have not, and it does not go with the rest of his house.
No, I mean, it is out of fucking nowhere. And I love it. I love that they did it, but there was no thought into doing this other than
it's like, well, it's Manhunter reference o'clock.
I think they would have done okay with just a big window, but you know what? They wanted to put the cherry on top and make it glass brick, and you're like, okay.
Which is funny
sure.
that they feel like they had to have this reference because much of season 3 goes into the Manhunter universe.
But I think they were going for broke because every season of Hannibal, they didn't know if they were getting another season.
Right.
So I think they're doing the very best they can to make the most entertaining thing they possibly can, with the fear that they won't say yes another time. Look at what we're doing. Do you think they'll say yes? And then NBC said yes 3 times.
Implausibly.
And then finally said, nope, we've had enough. Unfortunately, and for reasons I can't even begin to understand, we have yet to see it return on any of the many streaming services that should be dying to have this fucking show.
Yep.
But what it comes down to is that this kid has made a Robo-Bear costume and he's just snapping off fucking limbs. He's a Robo-Bear.
Just ponder that for a moment.
I mean, wow. They went for a Robo-Bear.
A Robo-Bear. Which somehow to me just is even more out there than if it had just been someone turning into a werewolf.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things, and the past 2 episodes have been this for me, and I'm sure I've said this before, but while I remember the long thrust of a season, I don't always retain the details. And so when it was revealed the first and now the second time that this guy's a Robo-Bear, it's fucking insane and delightful all at the same time. It's beautifully bonkers.
It's a lot of people don't realize that if you haven't watched the show, not all of the murders are committed by Hannibal Lecter. Right. I mean, he does have a hand in a lot of them, but a lot of them are not committed by him directly. And that this is this show exists in a universe where serial killers are everywhere.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. And none of them are the, strangle someone and leave them behind, and leave them in a grocery store parking lot variety. They're just, everything is very elaborate, very, setting up a scene with every murder they commit. It's, wearing costumes, it's using exotic weapons. It's having a very, long game that they're playing. And and again, that's how you know that this is not in the real world, because real world serial killers aren't like that. There's no, for lack of a better word, finesse to what they do. There's no elegance to it. There's no bizarre beauty to it.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes it unique, is that it entirely deals with this subject, and yet is so captivating to watch and engage with.
Another nice little callback, possibly unintentional, but it may just be the way my brain works, is after this character in his mecha bear suit, a mecha bear suit. Let me repeat that again. Kills a couple who is standing at a bonfire. Will's doing his thing, and he realizes that this is actually a person doing this and not an animal. Originally, they think it's someone who has like an attack bear, I guess. Or Will imagines it's an attack stag. Yeah. Which I gotta say, if you can train a stag to kill on your command, that's fucking awesome. I want that.
Yeah, sure. Who doesn't?
I just want to get one of those little clicker things that you use to train a dog and just get this stag to just like kill that guy over there for me. Just impale him on your horns. Yeah. But anyway, so there's a really nightmarish shot of Will sort of rising up with like these antlers. He's just like, his face is entirely covered in blood. Mm-hmm. And it reminds me of a made-for-cable movie some years ago called Citizen X.
Oh, yeah.
About the Russian serial killer Andrei Chikatilo. Mm. Now, I completely pulling this out of my butt, and I have no idea if this is true, that this shot is a reference to that. But in Hannibal Lecter's later canon in the Thomas Harris books, he himself is, I believe he's supposed to be Russian, and his sister is kidnapped and eaten by starving peasants. And that is inspired by something that apparently happened to the serial killer Andrei Chikatilo, who also cannibalized some of his victims. Yeah. So I feel like that shot may have been a little bit of a callback to that, because it's very similar. Like, it's shot the same angle, where he's sort of like, it looks like he's sort of rising up from just like, taking a bite out of someone, and it's very unsettling.
Citizen X was an HBO thing, right?
Yeah, and it is.
That be on HBO Max?
It is. It might be. It is excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen it in years, but you're absolutely right. Everyone here dies pretty much the same way. Only one. Yeah. You either die by Mecha Robo Bear, or Will shoots you, or did Mecha Robo Bear just die by jumping through a fucking wall?
Yeah, he did look pretty sliced up, didn't he?
Yeah. No, he took a fair amount of damage in that particular attack. I don't think it was smart.
Well, I don't think most people could run through a glass brick wall and not grievously injure themselves.
Yeah. So he wasn't of the rightest mind. Let's put it that way. But then Will just dumps the body on Hannibal's dining room table.
He's like, well, I guess this makes us even now.
And says, I sent someone to kill you. You sent someone to kill me. I call that even, Steven.
And Hannibal's like,
sure. Okay.
You got me there.
All righty. I guess we're friends again. And there's a lot, again, another episode that I just wanted to press play on the next one. I just want to do it every single time. We're really in the thick of it. It's so fucking good. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about television and movies at thespool.net. I will be covering for much of August Fantasia Fest. And you can find me on Twitter under Porcelain72.
Do it today, people. Check it out, especially the article on Supertrain, which I referenced once again when I, for some reason, decided to start watching all the promos for, or opening sequences for shows that premiered in 1979, and Supertrain was. We still got to do some additional content on some of those shows just for the fun of it. We should do Train by Train on Patreon. Oh my God. I don't know if I can subject myself to that another time. For you, I might be willing. We can always do an overview. So that just about does it. Buy some t-shirts at tpublic.com. The link will be in the show notes here. Follow us on Twitter, rate and review us on iTunes. It will help us be seen and heard by more people. And come back next week for more Kill by Kill. Until then, for myself and for Gina, bye-bye, everybody. Bye.